welcome. At the end of another sizzling week in the UK's torrid summer, well, a few days of sunshine, welcome to another sizzling session on AI, deepfakes, ethics, and cybersecurity. What a mix. And again, we have the same panel and moderator as last week. Our moderator is Dr. Hisham AbouGrad from the University of East London. And he has a panel of 4 people from East and West London universities. So what's the topic this week? Well, it says generative AI and deepfakes, ethical issues, and detection techniques. So let's see what we can detect. Hisham, over to you to lead us through this session.
Thank you, Dalim. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you to the panel as well, Professor Julie Wall and Dr. Saeed Sharif, Dr. Fadi Safieddine, and Dr. Mustansar Ghazanfar. Today, we have another. Yes.
May I just briefly add another interruption, which is that I'm in the BCS, as you know, as you are as well. And the BCS has got a new certification in ethics. And I'm really keen that you get the chance to try it. So to everyone who's registered for this session, I'll ask my colleague David Grundy to send the joining link, which gets you a 20% discount. So please try it. Make sure you get the discount. Reply to us with your comments, and let's all learn more about deepfakes, AI, and ethics.
Thank you, Dalim, for this. And yeah, I really recommend you guys to actually get this ethical course. It's a very good professional course. Thank you, Dalim. So let me continue. So we're going to talk today about generative AI and deepfakes, mainly in the area of ethical issues and detection techniques, where the panel will talk about different, studies and different examples from their practice. So I wish that you are going to enjoy it today. First of all, I would start with Dr. Saeed Sharif, and he's going to talk first, and then the other panel members will actually share their work. So first to you, Dr. Saeed Sharif.
Thank you very much, Hisham. Okay, a very good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this second session of BSc. And this is Saeed Sharif. I'm the leader of Intelligent Technology Research Group, and my main research activity focus on the development of innovative intelligence solutions to support public, to support the clinicians, as well as to work on the ethical side of AI and how AI can change our life. Of course, to follow up and link it with the last week, this session as well, we will be focusing mainly on the ethics of AI, and I'm sure all of you will enjoy this session. We will talk, my colleague as well will focus on the generative AI, and for our audience who doesn't know what's generative AI, it's mainly an artificial intelligent algorithms that's capable of generating new contents, new images.
Dr. Saeed, did you share your slides?
No, I would...
Or you just going to speak?
No, I would like to just speak quickly.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Hisham. So as we know, mainly for generative AI, Nowadays, it's covering a huge number of applications with a significant level of interest from the public, from the industry, and from the key organization all around the world. Why? Of course, this wide applications comes from the area covering art and creativity, for example, where AI can generate lots of newly designed painting. It can help you with the music composition or write a specific content. On the other key application that I would like to talk about as well in the healthcare, where I do lots of focused research with the NHS and to support mainly the clinicians. And of course, such a support will help, including drug discovery, helping auto processing for the medical imaging. And we are aiming to achieve more personalized medicine that can help the clinicians identify or predict any unknown disease. And of course, the good thing about AI now, it has a huge number of positive use, and including the education, the film industry, and a significant level of applications in the healthcare. As we discussed before, we work on the healthcare in a way that can help the clinician make more accurate decision and reduce significantly the waiting time, and as well as help the patients achieving their results in a very timely manner. As the key focus of today is mainly on the ethical and legal side and legal concern of the AI, it's clearly now there are significant level of AI tools that can lead to have misinformation, which basically can help to have a potential spread of false information, as we call it, the false news. And now there is a large number of public had a significant level of concern about the privacy invasion as well, because we can tell nowadays these tools are actually sometimes without knowing and without acknowledging can interfere in your privacy in unauthorized way. And as well, and on the other side, you can tell the hackers and the scammers, they are using such tool to invade this privacy and even steal our identity, which has made lots of people have a significant level of concern. So that's why actually the key point of our key focus of discussion today is how can we combating this misinformation, where we can generate an AI tool for fact checking, and we can use that as well in a positive way to debunking the false information. Of course, we, no matter how experienced we are as a human being, it's really nowadays with the level of use of the usage level of social media, it's almost mission impossible to monitor that level of usage. And that's why all these key social media platforms, they are using AI now to monitor the social media for fake news as well. And of course, as we are in a week before the election, now lots of organization trying to make sure that there is no concern about using AI towards spreading the false information about the election. That's why, for example, our key media organization, which is the BBC, always trying to use several tools to get every single piece of news verified clearly, which also can help to avoid any security or privacy concern. Because, of course, this can have lots of issue in terms of the risk of the data breach and could be leading to significant level of manipulation. And that's why it is extremely important to always be considerate about all the ethical use of the AI and make sure we are using a transparent algorithm with a clear way of the decision-making process. So that's briefly about the importance of the AI ethics. And again, thank you very much for your listening. And I'll leave it back to Dr. Hisham.
Thank you, Dr. Saeed Sharif. And I wish that you can stay with us if possible, but you can actually give a final message if you are leaving.
Thank you very much, Hisham. Again, I do apologize. Yes, last week I significantly enjoyed these sessions and I wish to stay for many, many hours. But unfortunately, this week I have a significant commitment happening and I'm already late for that. I should have started at 6:30. But it's always lovely to attend those sessions with you guys, especially with you, Hisham, and the rest of the panelists. That's why my final message is really me as a artificial intelligence expert, we are doing our best to utilize the AI in a way that can support the public. Of course, our message as an educator is we are trying to educate the public about the importance and the positive sides of the AI. Of course, considering all the ethical issues from the way we are developing the AI until who's using AI and when can be have a significant impact on our public life. And I'm sure, hopefully, once from a political point of view, we are fully settled. The aim that the government is planning is to make more legislations about AI and about how AI can fully support the public. We don't want AI just to support industry. We need AI to use, we need the public to use AI in a very positive way, in a way that can really have an impact on the life, on the quality of the life. Unfortunately, we are missing lots of quality life since the last decade. And I'm sure the right ethical AI will bring us this quality of life. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you very much, Hisham. And good luck for the rest of the panelists and enjoy your evening.
And thank you, Dr. Saeed Sharif. Thank you very much. And I'm going now to hand it to Professor Julie Wall. And she will talk about actually, I am sure, her studies. She has lots of studies in AI and also related topics to AI. And I am sure she will actually explain more and in more depth about what actually she did already with her team. Thank you very much to you, Professor Julie.
Thank you, Hisham. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me back. I really enjoyed last week. Can you confirm that you can see my screen, my slides?
Yes, thank you for asking. Yes, absolutely, it's there.
Lovely, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. In this second session of the series, I want to continue to explore the impact of deepfake speech and then the impact of inappropriate uses of AI, such as privacy violations, and the spread of misinformation and disinformation. And we'll look at the difference between those. and the profound effects on individuals' reputations and mental health. We'll also discuss some of the current countermeasures, both technical and non-technical, and examine, as Saeed introduced, the evolving regulatory and legal landscape aimed at mitigating these risks. So for those who were here last week, this is probably familiar, but as an introduction, deepfake audio, what is it? So this refers to the use of AI to create realistic synthetic voices that mimic real individuals. And this can be achieved through a range of different technologies. One such would be the GAN, or the Generative Adversarial Network. And it can also be achieved through advanced voice synthesis. So while generative AI can create new content similar to existing data, it does raise serious ethical concerns when it is misused, or when this new content is misused. And deepfakes can be manifested in various forms, including audio, video, images, and text. And there's been a lot of focus over the last number of years on detecting fake images and fake videos. But audio deepfakes pose unique challenges, and this is due to their ease of dissemination. And also the trust we place in voice as a communication medium. It's something that we implicitly trust. So it leads to issues when it's used inappropriately. So the first one I want to introduce is privacy violations. And so deepfake speech poses significant privacy concerns. One of the primary issues is unauthorized use of individuals' voices. And this can lead to severe privacy images or privacy breaches. So if you imagine if your voice is being used without your consent to generate synthetic speech, and this could expose personal information about you, or it could be used to trick others into revealing sensitive data. 2021, there was a case where a scammer used a deepfake audio of a company CEO, and it was used to convince an executive to transfer $35 million to a fraudulent account. And this incident really highlights the potential for identity theft and other malicious activities. And it can cause individuals to lose control over their personal information, and it can lead to substantial financial and privacy breaches. Now, there are many financial services institutions, one such as Barclays, and they're becoming ever more active in working to combat voice phishing, or also known as vishing, V-I-S-H. And these activities are being used to protect customer information. They are implementing advanced voice authentication systems. So these systems are used to analyze voice patterns, and they aim to detect and prevent such malicious activities. And in doing so, they're trying to safeguard the customer and the institution itself. So that's the first impact, would be privacy violations. The next one is misinformation and disinformation with deepfake speech. So deepfake speech, it's a powerful tool, especially when it comes to spreading misinformation and disinformation. If we think about misinformation, this is when we have false or inaccurate information that is spread, but it is spread without the intention to deceive. So it's often shared by people who believe that fact or that piece of information to actually be true, kind of like a Chinese whisper. Disinformation is deliberately false information that is spread with the intention to deceive or mislead people, and it is a form of manipulation. So by creating synthetic voices that produce false statements or speeches, this is disinformation. And doing so, malicious actors can significantly erode public trust in media and communications. And again, we've seen it many times in the news. There have been real world instances where deepfake audio was used to spread political disinformation or to manipulate public opinion. In the image, we can see President Joe Biden. And earlier this year, there was a robocall featuring his cloned voice, a cloned voice of him. And this was shared. And the purpose of the message was to urge voters not to participate in a primary election at the time. Such actions can have severe consequences, including influencing election outcomes, creating public unrest, and damaging reputations. I'll talk about in the next slide. So these tactics or this activity, it doesn't only undermine the democratic processes, but it really can go to the next step, and it can foster distrust and legitimate communication channels. And this can make it harder for the general public or for society to discern truth from deception. The next example I want to talk about is around reputation and psychological impact of deepfake speech. Deepfake speech can have profound damage to both an individual's reputation and to their psychological well-being. So the manipulation of someone's voice to create synthetic audio, it can lead to severe professional and personal consequences. People's opinions can be swayed by interactions with a digital replica, leading to the creation of false memories. And these false memories, whether they're negative or positive, can go on to harm reputations, and they can even lead to unexpected interpersonal effects. There was an example of a teacher in Baltimore County in the US, and he used an AI voice cloning service to frame the school's principal for a racist rant. It went to court, so it was resolved legally. But this incident not only damaged that principal's reputation, but it also caused significant personal and professional repercussions for both parties involved. The psychological impact of deepfake speech is equally alarming. Victims often experience significant emotional distress. They suffer from anxiety. All of this is stemming from being impersonated or defamed. This emotional toll can lead to severe mental health problems. And there's an emerging phenomenon called the doppelganger phobia. And this is the fear of having an AI clone. So I'm sure we're all familiar with the term doppelganger, but now it's being used in line with this phenomenon around deepfakes. Providing what is needed is the provision of psychological support and resources for victims. And this is crucial to help them to cope with these emerging challenges. And that's probably a kind of an underdeveloped area, really. So to summarize, these two threats, the dual threat of reputation damage and psychological impact from deepfake speech, this really underscores the urgent need for robust detection methods, supportive resources, and there needs to be comprehensive legal frameworks to protect individuals from such malicious activities. So last week, if you were at our session last week, we explored some of the technical countermeasures which are being designed to detect and mitigate the risks associated with deepfake speech. And these measures are critical for ensuring the integrity of communications and to protect individuals and organizations from fraudulent activities. I'll summarize again this week. Firstly, we have machine or deep learning models, and these can be employed to identify anomalies in audio waveforms. They can be used to detect unusual patterns that may indicate deepfake manipulation. We have feature extraction methods, which can be used to analyze specific vocal characteristics like pitch and tone and rhythm to uncover inconsistencies in a speech signal. Biometric voice recognition, this is another approach. This utilizes unique vocal traits to verify identities and differentiate between a real and a synthetic voice. And comparative analysis can be used comparative analysis can be used against known genuine samples to enhance this verification process. Spectrogram analysis, this can be used in hand in hand with machine and deep learning. So spectrogram analysis provides detailed visual representations of the audio signals. And if we have high resolution spectrograms and frequency analysis, these can be used to identify very subtle artifacts and unnatural patterns that are indicative of deepfakes. Ensemble methods, so this is the combination of multiple techniques like spectrograms and deep learning. So ensemble methods combine these multiple detection techniques. So it could be used to integrate spectral, prosodic, and phonetic features. So looking at different types of features to improve the accuracy and robustness in identifying deepfake audio. The last technical approach will be around advanced authentication. And these are critical to be used hand in hand with these other kind of machine learning or biometric approaches. So these will be multi-factor authentication, blockchain technology. These are used to strengthen the security of the systems themselves, where deepfake speech could be used. Multi-factor authentication, it adds an extra verification layer. Blockchain technology, I'm not an expert, but blockchain technology ensures the integrity of transactions by preventing tampering or manipulation of sensitive information. So these will be the kind of common areas of research and development that are being investigated in the fight against deepfake speech. And the aim of these different domains will be to provide robust tools to maintain the authenticity of communications and to safeguard against malicious activities. Beyond the technical approaches, this fight against deepfake speech and AI-driven fraud, it really requires a multifaceted approach that includes both technical and non-technical strategies. So if we look at the non-technical approach, education and awareness are paramount. One of the key challenges is overcoming the sheer volume of fraudulent material that can inundate individuals. Effective fraud awareness campaigns must cut through all of this noise and ensures that the messages not only reach, but can actually positively influence consumer behavior. There needs to be coordination between public and private sectors, and this is essential to streamline these messages. So clear, simple, consistent communication is critical to educate the public about general fraud and the evolving threats posed by AI and the use of deepfakes. Moving on from that, behavioral changes are needed across society. Individuals need to adopt techniques to validate the information that they encounter themselves. For example, AI disclosure requirements can mandate transparency for AI-generated content, and this kind of as an approach can help users to identify and trust authentic communication. And this effort really needs to start early. Education on fraud detection and deepfake awareness needs to be introduced in schools to help individuals recognize warning signs from a young age. From the business side, counter-fraud controls must continuously be evolving to counter emerging threats. The rapid development of AI really requires more frequent reviews and updates of their control systems. Businesses need to be developing robust frameworks and processes to test and challenge their existing measures to ensure they remain effective against new threats. A vital point will be information sharing amongst financial institutions and law enforcement agencies. This is vital to have an enhanced and more collective defense against fraud. So if we consider a countermeasure, effective countermeasures, it really needs to be a combination of education, literacy, AI literacy, deepfake literacy, technology, and robust counter-fraud controls. And if all of these things are considered, rather than let's just focus on machine learning, we need all of these to create a really robust, resilient defense against the threats posed by deepfake speech. So my last slide, I want to talk about the regulatory and the legal perspectives. This landscape, the regulatory and legal landscape is surrounding deepfake technology is evolving rapidly. Governments and organizations are striving to mitigate the risks associated with AI-generated content. Current regulations such as the EU AI Act, there's the US Deepfake Report Act, there's many examples. These are becoming ever more pivotal in addressing the misuse of deepfakes. And these regulations themselves, they really emphasize the necessity for specific legislation that can effectively govern AI-generated content and prevent its malicious use. One of the key areas of focus is liability for AI misuse. And there was some interesting questions about this and some discussion in last week's session. And this is the ongoing discussion about the legal accountability of AI developers and third-party users who deploy the technologies that are being developed by others. The new EU AI Act aims to hold the model developers liable for any misuse of their creations by third parties. And regardless of our thoughts on this, this is really setting a precedent for shared responsibility in the AI development ecosystem. The last point will be around international collaboration, and this is again critical in creating and enforcing effective regulations. Bodies like the United Nations and the European Union, they are working towards standardizing laws to combat the cross-border threats posed by deepfake technology. And this global cooperation is essential for establishing a cohesive and comprehensive regulatory framework. We couldn't have a presentation starting with ethics without talking about ethics in some way, specifically. Ethical considerations play a significant role in shaping these types of legal frameworks for AI and deepfakes. And it's hugely important to address the ethical implications of these technologies, ensuring that the innovation that is happening doesn't come at the expense of society or individual rights, societal values. So balancing this technological advancement while also being able to protect rights, it's very delicate, but it's a necessary task. In the future, future directions in legal and regulatory developments will likely focus on continuously adapting to the rapid pace of AI advancements. Continuous research is needed. Active public consultation will be instrumental in shaping effective policies that can keep up with the evolving landscape of AI and deepfakes. So thank you. I hope this presentation provided you with some valuable insights into deepfake speech, the challenges that we're currently facing, and the potential future directions in this field. Thank you very much. Thank you, Hisham.
Thank you, Professor Julie. We have a few questions, but we may take one or two. Adnan say breach of data and maintaining privacy is an important area. Do you think identifiable information can be automatically synthesized and routinely removes from the training data when configuring generative AI to tackle the issue of data breach?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So if identifiable information is going to be automatically removed from training data, so if that is something that will help to create generative AI that may have less bias, it doesn't have demographic information or personally identifiable features, there has to be some automated approach in being able to remove this information. So it could be removed. I guess not having the information in there in the first place is a major help. When I think about generative AI, I will be familiar with the language models, the large language models. And if we think about, you know, the bias of the data, the problems with those, problems will come from the data that it's trained on, which is scraped from the internet. And there are approaches that can be used to remove like names, addresses, phone numbers. You know, there are existing approaches that are used for that. And that does go in some way in helping from an individual point of view that you would hope your data is not being used to train one of these models. When people are interacting with large language models like ChatGPT, this is why this societal education needs to happen, because it's such an intuitive interface. It is probably the first time that we are interacting with AI in a very natural way through natural language. And that, you know, that communication medium leads us to become very trusting in the way we use it. And we, without realizing, I do it myself, we ask it to check an email and my personal information may already be there. So it's the important thing would be from an end user that we have the knowledge to take care in how we interact with these AI models. Saeed was talking earlier about the development of AI and how we have to do it in a more explainable, transparent way to ensure that we can mitigate some of the issues with, say, bias. And again, the training data that's used to train large language models is scraped off of the internet. So yes, quick answer, yes, there are automated approaches which can be used to remove identifiable information when a model is being trained. But with generative AI and with models like ChatGPT, we use them in a very trusting way. Maybe I'm speaking for myself. So it's about being very careful in how we do that going forward. I hope that answered your question in some way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much. I am sure the audience benefited a lot from your answer. And thanks, Adnan, for asking. Now we are going to move to Dr. Fadi. It's just because of time management. We have to move. We will take later on, we will take the other questions. So now to you, Dr. Fadi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Fadi Safieddine. I'm a senior lecturer at University of East London. Some of you may have seen me last week in my presentation where I spoke about fake news and how deepfake has been propagated in that aspect. So in today's presentation, thank you, Dr. Hisham, for sharing this. I'm speaking about, can current tools help? So one of the things I noticed, there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence being a big part in solving deepfake. But from my point of view as information system and who's been working on fake news for a very long time, I'm going to look at more holistic as how social media has been operating so far. And what tools they've been using. Because as much as we say there is a problem, and there is definitely a problem with deepfake, it's not widespread. It's not every time you open your social media, it's there. So already there are tools in the background fighting it. But yes, it's not perfect. And yes, we need some AI to help us. So next slide, Dr. Hisham. So we know for a fact that social media is a major source of information. I established this last week. It's a major source of news. News break out on Twitter and Instagram and other areas, especially Twitter, a lot faster than when you get it on BBC or Sky News. And that's because of how you write a few sentences and send in the live location of a football game or a political statement or event, it happens very quickly. And it's also become the source of misinformation and fake news. But we're going to be very careful here with fake news. It's reserved for cases of deliberate presentation of false or misleading claim as news. So with deepfake, it's not always used necessarily for fake news. It's used for misinformation, misdirection. But in an election year like we're having in the US and UK, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the fake news aspect of deepfake. And is propagating using the same tools and techniques can help us control it. Next slide. So very few people remember pre-2016, where social media, you could share anything and no one stops you. So sharing medical news that using baking soda as a treatment for stage 4 cancer was widespread. And people wouldn't know. There was no way to verify it unless you're going to spend significant time online researching and looking into it. And that creates kind of a subculture of people believing in false information, false announcement, and having either no time or no means of verifying it. So something like this, now you can't find it. Now, as much as you try to find it on social media from Instagram, Twitter, which is X, TikTok, they don't last long. They get removed very, very quickly. Next slide. Misinformation put as news, again, that's become a little bit more control. So this is a picture that spread and went viral back in the days because it was supposedly a photo from Paris after a terrorist attack. But again, there was no way to verify if this picture is true. There was no way to verify if it's valid. And that's why it went viral. It was much later that people needed to do a reverse image search. And who has the time to make a copy of the photo, do reverse image search to try to identify whether it's true or not? And this was a fake photo. This was an artist who was drawing the world if no humans existed. This was not linked at all to the terrorist attack in Paris. Next slide, please. But also sometimes it was impossible to verify if this news is actually, even when the news is true, people were challenging it and there was no way to verify it. So this was supposedly being shared by an English lecturer that went to her lecture, which supposedly should have 400 students in there, only to find out that no one showed up to the class. And she sent an email complaining, "Where are you?" Okay, so this was actually true. But the context was missing. The context was missing is that one, the lecture was optional. Two, it was during the reading week. So, you know, reading week, sometimes our students are not there. So the university behind it, which I'm not going to mention the name, got bad reputation over misleading information. So there was a misleading information. This was a factual picture. This was a factual incident, but the context was not given. Why am I saying this? All these relate to deepfake. So whether misinformation, misleading information about medical news, misleading information about news in the media such as terrorist attack, or when it's a factual news and you can't verify it. And this gets harder because with all those three examples I just mentioned, you could either search online, reverse image search, look at previous published articles. But what can you do with deepfake? That's harder. Where's the option to reverse search a video to verify it's actually there? So we get into a much harder area there as to how we're going to verify deepfake. Next slide, please. So I have a research track that goes back to 2016 when we didn't even call it deepfake, we called it misinformation. And over the years, I've tracked what social media has been doing. In fact, the word deepfake was not coined until 2019. Sorry, fake news, sorry, was not coined until 2019. And we didn't coin the deepfake until 2020. Maybe 2019, at the end of 2019, 2020, that we start seeing there was starting to develop this fear about deepfake. And in my last publication, which I mentioned last week, we verified for a fact that even university student, computer science students, knowing that one or two or three of a video, so we gave them 3 videos, we didn't tell them which one could be fake, and we said maybe none of them are fake. All 3 videos had the same ratio of believability, meaning they couldn't identify which was fake, and it was the last video. So they all had 30 to 33% unbelievability, thinking it's fake, but they even assumed the true videos, the actual videos, were fake. So they couldn't tell the difference. And this presents another layer of challenge, even more challenging than the tools that we had already when it comes to text and images on social media. Next slide, please. So here I'm going to go through a few techniques that we've learned in the past. Past simulation identified that fake news spread initially between people the same way gossip spreads. And then it could be shared between different groups. And this is also how gossip works. It even could spread and go viral. And all this research, by the way, these numbers there are linked to my research, yeah? Next slide, it's okay, you can go back, go to the next slide. So one of the first challenges we had was to try to look at the variables linked to the spread of fake news. The bit in black there, I don't know what happened there to the mouse, Dr. Hisham. The bit in black there are people who are unable to verify, by default, are sharing the news believing it's true. People in red either don't believe it, or they made the background research, they did reverse image search, text research to identify if this is true or not. And the more we have red dots, the more we have immune people, meaning people who would realize this is fake and stop sharing it. But what happens is, yeah, keep it on the slides, fine now. What can we do to stop the spread? So the more people who get the information that this is fake or deep fake, the quicker we can stop the spread. And our analysis showed at the time through this form of simulation that if the tool is available for people to quickly check if this is fake or not, we could stop it within one layer of spreading it, meaning it, you can see on the right-hand side there, we can completely stop the spread, but we don't have the tool. Next slide, please. So yes, keep these two together. So what we found is that the spread of fake news, be that deep fake or text and image fake, is the way disease spreads. And therefore, it was like a pandemic. When people are sharing without checking it, then it spreads in an uncontrollable way. If we have the ability of giving that tool for people to do reverse search check, we just need 30%, and that's the number you see on the right-hand side, the A equal to 30. Only 30% of people having a tool or ability to verify that news, it could stop it spreading and going viral. And that was our first breakthrough, is that we now have a number. But then we discovered, next slide, where we have someone with huge influence. So think of back in the day, Donald Trump with millions and millions of followers, or maybe a news agency being sponsored by foreign agencies, yeah, who are intentionally spreading fake news and not willing to back down, then the number goes up all the way to 54%. We need more than half of the people to verify it. And that's what the simulation, this pandemic formula of simulation. When we say pandemic formula, we were using University of Edinburgh software to model the spread of disease. And we put the same variables that are applicable to fake news and the spread of fake news. And as I said, 54% was the magic number if we have organization, maybe news agencies, who are intentionally trying to spread it. But, and this is where we need news agencies, we need reliable information. Where the news, even when shared, let's say by BBC or Sky by mistake, if they share the news as being fake and then realize it's fake and they back down, then you only need 9% further on to verify it. So the key output of this is the source of that deep fake or fake news. If they're intentionally pushing that agenda, it's a lot harder to stop it than a group who unintentionally shares that information and pulls it back or deletes the message or what have you. It's between 9% of people being able to identify it as fake or do their research to identify it as fake, up to 54%. And now you can see the challenge we have online. If we don't have, if we allow people to share fake, deep fake and fake news, it's a lot harder to stop it unless, and that's where we go to the tools. Next one, please. Yeah. So there was a lot of talk then and now about how to stop it. And AI algorithms are were very promising and still promising at this point. But as you can see, I don't know how many of you have spotted this issue online, is that it's not perfect. It has allowed fake news to spread occasionally. And see, people who want to spread fake news have learned certain techniques. For instance, where they use the word, where they know that AI gets triggered by the word death, kill, murder, rape, they put the star or apostrophe in the sentence in order to dodge the AI. In images and videos, they would cover certain words with a red line or put some hologram over it in order to the AI struggles to read what's in the image. So until that point, it was still promising, but we haven't got to the point, and maybe as the AI get trained and learn about it, it will get better. Sorry, if you go back. So I know the slides are being programmed to move next. So this is my mistake. But I've experienced it, and few people who work with me in research have also experienced that AI also gets it wrong many times. So for instance, I got docked 3 times by Facebook for supposedly sharing fake news, where in fact I was sharing them to show this is fake and saying, oh, look what's being shared. And they went back in the years. So, and you couldn't appeal it as well, which was really shocking. So AI still has an issue, and they censored a lot of the content as well, where in fact sometimes it's a valid content. There's nothing there. We need this part of educating the masses. So other tools here, I'm going to quickly talk about them before we move. Sorry, is relying on influencers has proven to be not very successful. We already see it was not effective during the US election and Brexit. Educating the masses, it takes time, but we need it. It's a little bit slow, but especially with news and especially with images, there are ways. However, with deepfake, as long as there's some critical way of evaluating and have use critical thinking, the next generation needs to be built with that in mind. Look, when you get nowadays a phone call and you don't identify you don't know the number, and they tell you, your account is going to be locked, we already have that in us to use critical thinking. So if a video looks too good to be true or saying something you don't expect, you shouldn't immediately believe it. You should take a step back and evaluate it and to decide whether it's true or not. But what social media is still using is what we call the third-party checkers, and that's the last element there. If you go next, yeah. Third-party checkers relies on reporting. So each and every one of us has a duty where we see something suspicious, we should report it. Be that on Instagram, they have the tool, on Facebook, they have the tool, on Twitter, they have the tool, or TikTok has that tool to report this. Now, if you go to the next slide, it is a slow process, yeah? But what it does in the end, it gives a chance. Sorry, the next one is the same on the same slide. Yeah, it gives a chance to evaluate that information independently. So if you think it's suspicious, you can refer it to be checked, and if it's false or it has some unwanted graphical content, it could be highlighted and stopped. And this is an important concept in the fight of fake news, because before 2016, several studies showed that the level of spread of fake news online and fake content and misinformation was around 30%. Since then, it has dropped. Next slide, please. It has dropped mainly because of this technique, and that's the third-party approach. The third-party approach, meaning when someone reports, yes, it takes sometimes time, day or two, but once this is now logged into the social media system, if anyone tries to share it again in the future, provided it has the same characteristics and the same images or videos, or it can be flagged as fake. And that was a significant drop in the spread of fake news. Yeah, next one. It's fine. So since then, we've started expanding on these variables. I have PhD students working on identifying variety of other variables, including the contact rate, the time sensitivity of the information, how easy people are to believe that information, how skeptic they are. All these personal characteristics can be identified to see how quickly this piece of news sometimes can go viral or not. Yet next. And next, because I kind of covered those two anyway. And the next one, sorry. So you can see there was lots of variables to get there. So where are we now? So the last time we did a check, we found during COVID, during COVID, we found that there was a significant drop in the spread of fake news. And that include deepfake. So during COVID, we matched the number against what was before 2016, which was around 30%. And we found all social media significantly below. So we should give credit to the fact that there's been an improvement. TikTok was one of the highest at 8.6%. Twitter was on 10.6%. We looked at 600 different observations and posts. Instagram was 5.3, and surprisingly, and it was a surprise for us because Facebook was always having a serious problem. It was the lowest at 4.6. But this has come at a cost in some aspects. There's been accusation of censorship. There was accusation of not allowing people to the freedom of speech. And it might surprise you to know that actually social media do not have a requirement for freedom of speech. So it's a private organization. Freedom of speech is only applicable on government when it comes to government regulations. So there was some accusation there, rightly or wrongly. But one thing we have to say that it has reduced the spread of fake news. That said, I asked the question there, have we won? No, we have not won. So if you missed last week's session, because I know I have limited time today to talk, I would urge you to watch last week's session where I actually showed we have not won. People who are determined to spread fake news have moved the goalpost, and now they're using big data combined with direct social media messaging into people's phones. Now, we don't experience it so much in the UK, but in other countries they do. And that's because they have that option to contact people directly into their phone, thereby passing all the filters and restrictions that otherwise were linked to social media, which takes us back to pre-2016. And that is the next battle. So I say shifting battlefield. Next slide, please. So part of my research was publishing a book in 2020 that looked at history of fake news, the social and political impact of digital fake news, several cases of health, several cases of fake news, including health related news, and the psychology of fake news as well. Why sometimes people like to share what is clearly fake, and they enjoy that aspect. So if you're interested to read further and it's something of interest to you, that could be something you could add to your reading list. And yeah, thank you very much for listening, and I'll be and there's my email if you need to contact me for further questions.
Thank you, Dr. Fadi. We may actually get one question.
Go ahead.
Let me check the questions. I'm not sure about okay.
I'm reading one here. Speaking of psychology, does your research overlap with study of memetics? not really sure what memtex is, so I wouldn't say I did. Is that to do with memes?
Could be.
No, that's something else. Oh, it does. Yes. Well, yeah, we did discuss memes heavily in our research. I didn't know this is what they call it as memtech. Meme is a phenomena in its own right. And what makes memes extremely spreadable, especially when combined with fake news, is that you put a small picture that is meant to be funny. And by the way, funny pictures spread faster than sad news or depressing pictures. So making a satire or a funny picture and linking it to certain news uh, and making and you have to understand, if you keep sending that message, it can become a fact in people's mind. Just think of the UK election. How many memes were created about Rishi Sunak and saying that in his uh, poor days they didn't have Sky News, Samin, and how many jokes were created. Now, even though this is a fact, this cements the idea that he's not in touch with the common people. And memes are a phenomenon in that aspect. And it goes back to the Roman days where they use satire and parody in order to criticize the political elite. And a meme also to give you another example as well, a very important one. It's in my book, in the book that's published. They did a research on flat Earth believers. And flat Earth believers have their own set of beliefs based on sciences they selectively believe. And therefore, whatever science you try to give them, they just won't believe. They won't change their view. And in the experiment done in the US, 30 flat Earth believers were given every fact about why the Earth is not flat, and they wouldn't change. But when they show them multiple memes, kind of mocking the idea that the Earth is flat by showing other planets and showing how the Earth is an odd square thing, or showing the moon eclipse as a line, they were able to persuade 19 people. So that's a significant number of the 30 to question that belief. And so meme is a strong tool, and unfortunately was used part of the psychology of fake news.
Thank you, Dr. Fadi. Now we are going to move to Dr. Mustansar. Dr. Mustansar? Dr. Mustansar.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. If you can, please share your slides and start if possible.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, just make sure you make it full. Exactly, you can start now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. We meet again. I hope last week you attended my talk over deepfake. I am Dr. Mustansar, and I am Associate Professor at University of East London. I am Program Director for Artificial Intelligence, where we are leading the postgraduate course. Please feel free to connect me in LinkedIn. This is the QR code, which I have given at the end as well, and you can ask any question. Okay, so let's get started. Briefly, last time I covered it, but this is important that the umbrella of deepfake and large language model. First, you have the artificial intelligence, which is a bigger field. And within artificial intelligence, you have machine learning. And within machine learning, you have deep learning. So inside deep learning, you have all these technologies, which are generative AI, large language model, deepfake, and so on. And generative AI, I'm not going to take details, what is that, but you can generate text, images, or any other content. It can be sound, which our colleague Julie has mentioned. And the deepfake is technically, this is a synthetic media. Usually we say deep video or audio, but you can refer to text as well. But generally, we keep the discussion around video and audio for deepfake. Last time I just gave you the snapshot how it can be done. You can do the face swapping, face enhancement, and these are some of the technologies how somehow you can do the deepfake. So a lot of tools, we covered this last week, but just a recap, a lot of tools. And this is a problem. Here is the risk, because all these tools, most of them, they are quite free to use. The trial version is quite free to use, and you can use them. For example, Midjourney is totally free. You can create images, and which is putting a dangerous trend that creating deepfake becoming very easy. So what are the challenges? So first challenge is the biasness. Okay, so the heading is not coming, but what I am going to discuss is biasness. And the whole idea is the large language model, they are trained over the data from the internet. And as you know, the internet is inherently biased because there's a lot of discussion and it can be biased. So the result is your model can be biased as well. Okay, so this is one problem with these technologies, that the answer you are getting, the challenge is how we can reduce the biasness. Okay, so here is an example which might be controversial, but if you type a word terrorist in Midjourney, so in Midjourney, which is a tool, here is the Discord channel, you will find some funny faces or Arab images with the hat and a gun and laughing, portraying them as a bad person. So again, there's nothing wrong in it because the data these model has been trained was biased. They show or they portrayed these images or these cultural, because this is more cultural thing. So it has nothing to do with terrorism or any intruder behavior. But what I meant to say, if the data is biased, your model would be biased. And this is a protection problem nowadays. So Midjourney is a very important tool. And of course, they would be safeguarding them. They can do the post filtering to make sure these results does not go to the public and so on. So might be they are doing some experiments. Another example of biasness can be there in the large language model as well. Here's an example. I simply type this prompt. So this is your prompt, which you put into ChatGPT and Google Gemini. And I said, is Donald Trump bad for running election? Shed light over this scandal. And the ChatGPT, they gave you a lot of essays saying the Russian investigation, Ukraine scandal, election fraud, and blah, 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 and so on. On the other hand, Google Gemini, which is more diplomatic, I would say this is more diplomatic answer, which is not bad. And they said, please, we can't answer it. You can try the Google searches. Okay, so again, you can see the biasness here. So why there is a biasness? The internet is there, the text is free, and the model has been trained over it. So this is the responsibility of the model creating agencies to make sure the results are not biased. And of course, as you can see, Google Gemini, they are blocking some content. So might be in future, we have some versions which are blocking the contents from going to the public because they are biased. Some ethical concerns, you can create fake celebrities, fake models, and you can do promotion based on them. Again, these sort of trends, they can have some ethical concerns in future. You can mix some models. You can mix to, as I show you a picture previously, where you mix the Angelina Jolie with Hillary Clinton and you made some funny faces. So there are some ethical concerns around this technology as well. And what are the impact on elections? So let's see how this can impact election and what we are doing, or the countries, or the companies, or the organizations, they are doing to mitigate those impacts. So last time we see the Elon Musk is saying AI is more dangerous. So he used the word more dangerous than nukes. So in fact, he was referring to these kind of things where it can have a huge impact on politics. It can have an impact on society. It can be more biased. There are more and more negative impact if we don't use it in a legal way or in a more constrained way. So let's see an example. I shared this last time, but this is
Which our
important.
enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time, even if they would never say those things. So, for instance, they could have me say things like, I don't know, Killmonger was right, or Ben Carson is in the sunken place, or how about this? Simply, President Trump is a total and complete dipshit. Now, you see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele. This is a dangerous time. Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet. It's a time when we need to rely on trusted news sources. It may sound basic, but how we move forward in the age of information is going to be the difference between whether we survive or whether we become some kind of fucked up dystopia. Thank you. Stay woke, bitches.
So here you can see the voice cloning has been done and the actions of another actor, they have been copied. So videos like that, how we can detect them and what are the control mechanisms in the social media for especially in the political context. So one more video, which is very famous, but it's worth seeing it. Here you have the original, you have the deepfake, but you can't tell the difference. And this is alarming for the social media as well.
Obama, she and Obama stole my microphone. They took my microphone to Kenya and they broke it, and now it's broken. You hear that? I was picking up somebody sniffing here. I think it's her sniffs. She's been sniffing all night. That sting, Gina, huge Gina.
So we need to have some policies to make sure these videos, if they are in the internet, they get banned or they don't get propagated, as Fadi was discussing. And this can have a huge impact because in 2024, there are 78 countries which are having election, or they had the election, like India already have election. And these news, they can propagate very fast. Fadi told you about network of network or the friends of friends. If your friend is sharing some news, you might be more trusted to it. So there should be some mechanism for that. And in this regard, there is some industrial strategies. For example, Meta, the parent company for Facebook, has prohibited the campaign and the other regulated industries for using the generative AI tool. Okay, so they have banned the generative AI tool to create the political advertisement, which is a good step towards the future. So in this regard, you can see the massive organization, they are serious and they know that the consequences of the generative AI tools or the deepfake can be very alarming. And the same is true for Instagram and Facebook. In fact, they have a project which is called AbouGrad, which is more like AI tools which can detect these, and then they can prohibit, they can ban those videos which they think is deepfake. So we are working towards open and safe and responsible generative AI. So this is just one step towards that. Well, some other tools like Alphabet, which is Google, they have confirmed that they would be using the same technique for Google Bard or Google Gemini. So again, this is a good thing that the big companies, they are joining hand to make sure that these things, they cannot be used for the political complaint, political campaign. So here's a very good article, which is in the reference as well. So you can read that article about how different companies, they are making some strategies and the legal frameworks to making sure we are not using them for the political campaigns. Twitter, unfortunately, they have reversed their global political restrictions. So you can now publish the political ads in their platform, though they have justified saying they use a lot of tactics and they hire the right people to make sure the fake news, they are not being circulated over this platform. So they might be having some different vision, but they are working towards detecting and making sure the tactics they are using, they can detect deepfake and they can control it before it is widely spread. So on the government side, a lot of governments on the worldwide, they are making sure that we don't use the AI-powered political ads. In this regard, the Indian government is sort of the first one which has told us about that we can't use the deepfakes. Okay, so they have deployed some watchdogs to limit the spread of deepfakes. And in fact, they are calling this technology the new threat to the democracy. Okay, so they are saying for our democracy, these tools, they are really bad. And of course, which is not true, because you can use this for positive purposes as well. But the Indian government is very strict over these issues. The same is true for the USA government. They have, in fact, many of their states, like Minnesota state, they have issued political bill, which is named HF 1370, and they have set some strict fine as well. So you can be fined up to $10,000 if you are using the fake artificially generated news for the political purposes. So this is a good step towards controlling this information, because once you want to have the widespread education, you need to start with the government level or at the industrial or the organization level. So this is a good step towards that. But at the same time, there are some limitations. Mostly they are concerned with the political or the leaders and so on. But the ordinary people like you and me, they might not be benefited from these approaches, from these legislations. We can fall victim to the fraud, the scams and blackmailing. There have been reported many incidents where women, they have been harassed based on the deepfakes, because it's very easy to make the pornography content based on them. So there is more and more needed to make sure the common person, they are safe from the negative impact of these technologies. I think with that, I would stop. You can connect me via LinkedIn if you scan my barcode, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Mustansar, for the presentation and the information. We only have actually about 7 minutes now. So we have to finalize. But I would actually give an opportunity for like a couple of questions. And maybe I asked Professor Julie here about a question from Raymond Wells, asking what protocols are being discussed from protecting variable contracts over voice channels. Is work going at West London University? What standards Fadi is involved? Raymond also said, should we moderate social media platforms to implement blockchain audio capability on news threads as a condition of license? Do we need licensing? Is licensing a freedom of speech and association issue? To you, Professor Julie.
Thank you, Hisham, and thank you, Raymond, for the question. I can definitely answer part of that, and then I will invite Dr. Mustansar and Dr. Fadi to contribute. In terms of the work I've been doing, I'm at the West London. I've been involved in research or looking into credibility within speech, and this was for fraud detection specifically. And the use case was when a customer calls into an insurance contact center, and how is the threat or how is fraud detected? So it's about the credibility of that customer. Insurance companies do not want to falsely accuse people, but they also want to, be able to detect a certain threshold of fraud that is taking place. We used like an ensemble of AI and machine learning models. We used language models, traditional NLP models, and we designed a decision engine which was able to make an automated decision based on detecting features within that conversation. It was looking at what the people were saying and how they were saying it and how they were responding to questions. Were they responding to questions in an appropriate way? Simple things like, were they giving closed, short answers to an open question? Other examples will be looking at the credibility, are they umming and ahhing, having difficulty in answering a simple question. It looked at the tone and the pitch of the conversation. So we looked at about 30 plus features, and then we designed a decision engine to assess credibility. It was by no means a lie detection. It was just to assess levels of suspicion. And what would happen in the use case will be that those conversations which would breach a threshold, a predefined threshold, they would be investigated by a human investigation team. So it was kind of decision support, not full decision making, and that's being used in the insurance domain now. So in terms of the voice and the fraud, then for sure, yes, I have been involved in work around AI and machine learning. Voice biometrics is another booming area, and there's been a few other questions in the chat about that, about how to authenticate and verify identities in verbal contracts and speech. Blockchain, I am not going to speak on. I'm not an expert by any means. And yes, there are standards in this area. There's ISO committee focusing on biometric standards, which includes, of course, the voice biometrics. There's the International Telecommunication Union, which is looking at standards for secure and reliable communication channels. And then the IEEE itself also is involved in development of standards for data encryption and secure communications. So there is active work going on in this area. In terms of mandating social media platforms or implementing blockchain, maybe Mustansar or Fadi, would you like to contribute?
I think the Fadi has left, but my work is mostly about the algorithm part. But I did some work in blockchain, but I don't think blockchain is in a stage where it can be used to check the authenticity of social media. So it's not easy at the moment, might be in future, but currently I don't see blockchain can be used for this purpose. Thank you, Hisham.
Okay, thanks. Final question to the panel. Nelson Alfonso asking how effective is X, formerly Twitter, basically, reader added context in combating fake news. So actually, he's talking about X platform reader.
Can you say again, sorry?
The question is, how effective is X? Reader added context. I don't know if you know about this. In combating fake news. I think this is a tool in X to combat fake news. I don't know if you know about this tool.
I mean, I don't know much about it, but from the community engagement point of view, this is good way where people can report. And of course, the wisdom of crowd is always very helpful to predict anything, not just the fake news. So I would definitely say this is very good, but over to Julie.
No, I'm not familiar with that tool myself.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Dr. Mustansar. I think this is just a tool to get data and information so it can be used to reduce fake news, I think, through reporting. I think that's the purpose of this. However, we come to the end of this event. Even, I mean, the time that we have, we still have so many things. You can communicate with the panel and everyone, but I would give like a minute to Professor Julie to give a final message. Just a minute.
I think a lot of the people in this room, going by the comments, are well briefed in the innovations in technology in trying to deal with deepfakes. But I think for society in general, it is I would advocate digital AI deepfake literacy. We've had digital literacy for 20 plus years. We had AI literacy in the last 10, and now we need to go to the next step in making people aware of just what it actually means for society, for individuals, for our privacy, for our reputations, for, understanding the difference between misinformation and disinformation. I think that will be my final comment, will be that it is education and being aware of how quickly this technology is growing and impacting our societies.
Thank you, Professor Julie. And Dr. Mustansar, you have a minute for a final message.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the final message I would say in this domain is about legislation. The technology is evolving so rapidly, it's very quick. And the legislation, on the other hand, is very slow. As I discussed, I could only find legislation in USA and Indian government, which are directly making some proposals how we can control it. But as a society, we need more legislation, especially to control the deepfake, and the impact is can be very negative. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mustansar. And from me, thank you for attending this event about generative AI and deepfake. We discussed many things about these, especially in the ethical issues and detection tools and techniques used. And I hope that we're going to have more sessions in the future about AI, about deepfake, even about other topics, including maybe cybersecurity, and maybe cloud computing and different actually topics in education topics related to IT. And from me, thank you very much. Now to you, Daleen. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. And I echo all of the things that Hisham has said. It is, in fact, a fascinating world, isn't it? And it's our world. It's the world of technology. It's the world of IT. And people not in IT will look to us as being the experts. So, boy, oh boy, have we got a lot to learn. So I would encourage you to, again, dip into this, and learn some things if you can. Do have a look at the BCS ethics course, but more to the point, we are experiencing so many different new technologies. Try and keep abreast of what's happening. It's a fascinating world, and you are very, very lucky to be on top of this, as I know you will be. So congratulations, well done. Let's carry on. Let's learn together. See you next time. All the best.